Welcome back to the channel, guys and dolls. Let's get right into it. This is going to be a reaction video. If I can get this to pull up right. There we go. All right.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
He was walking his dog late at night when he hears this.
What the if I'm being schizophrenic or something? But I feel pounding under my feet. And listen. What? It's coming from like under the ground. I can feel the vibrations in my feet, like it's loud. It just stopped. What the hell, man? What was that?
The noises suddenly stop, but the next night it returns. This time he decides to dig it up.
So I'm gonna dig this whole thing up and see if I find a secret tunnel under here or anything. Because I keep hearing the knocking like every night, and then it stops. Like as soon as I pull up and I record, it stops, which I find sus. So I'm gonna be digging up this entire spot. And what's weird is that it comes from here, and this is the only spot without grass, right?
What do you think is lurking under there?
Okay, I don't even know. Like, that's some weird shit right there. And was that just background music playing, or was that like actual like drumming kind of sound coming from the ground there? Because I don't even know what was just happening. That's just trippy. That's really trippy. Let's see what old Barry has to say about it. Barry from Kentucky.
I think that dude might have a leaking gas line or something. That almost sounded like something bubbling out of a pipe and making a popping noise. I'm sure this one has a reasonable explanation, but that dude needs to be careful just digging up the dirt where he's hearing a noise like that. Accidentally hitting a gas line with a shovel, that's how people get exploded.
The New Yorker put out a post about the new generation of airships and air travel, and another article on why airships may be the future of travel. Oh, you didn't know? This is old world technology. And look at this ship. My boy True Earthers Unite just
It's a blimp. It's a Zephyr.
did a video on this, talking about how these floating cities could hold 1,100 people. That's the population of Wayne City. And I like the headline of his page. It says, free travel anywhere. Now, the travel itself isn't just free. The energy is. Look at the headline of this old article, Strange Lifting Force. A lot of people are mystified of how these giant structures stayed in the air with entire cities built on the inside of them. You ever heard of the band Led Zeppelin? Yeah, well, this is a Zeppelin, and it's made of steel. So how does it float? Well, you see it's tethering to these Tesla coil-looking structures. It's also a docking port where people dock onto it. Well, What is this strange lifting force that keeps these things afloat? Let me take you to a patent that's very popular here on this channel, the Triangular Spacecraft. And taking a quick look at the abstract, this little deal here flies using vertical electrostatic line charges that create a horizontal plane wave, basically creating a portable Van de Graaff generator and counteracting the weight of the object to fly. Wait, why wouldn't NASA have this technology? They do! In fact, NASA has an electrostatic levitation laboratory. Your real question should be, wait a minute, how is this anti-gravity craft not somehow using the Einsteinian bending and warping of space-time theory of gravity in order to levitate? How come an anti-gravity craft uses electrostatics to levitate? Because these crafts harness the electrostatic potential in the atmosphere to achieve lift and propulsion. So why have they been covering this up and acting like it's some brand new technology all of a sudden? Because it's a big problem for this. Also, if us peasants get the idea of free energy, what kind of catastrophe's next? Fruit trees on every corner? Which, by the way, they say the reason we don't have more fruit trees in public is because oh, well, the fruit trees just need too much tending to. No, they only need tending to if you want your apples to look like this. You know, I'd take this organic apple that tastes much better. Yeah, it rots quicker, but I'd rather have it over this GMO wax apple. And I call BS on the public fruit thing because you ever been to like a tropic place? You ever left the United States and went to like Costa Rica or places where they have wild fruit trees everywhere and you just one more shout out to my boy Phoenix for sending
Nobody wants that 3D printer food.
me this article. It's time that we uncover the old world and bring back old technologies. Quit trying to act like they're brand new.
We've
Right.
discussed at length on this channel the theories of how these airships worked and how they ran off free energy from the ether. If they're really going to bring this technology back to the public, that would be amazing. I'd much rather ride in an airship than on a plane.
A surprising
Hell yeah, me too.
number of sea monster sightings can be explained by whale boners.
Large baleen whales, snake-like resembling cephalopod tentacles. A pod of mating whales in low light and harsh sea conditions could resemble a giant beast with multiple long tentacles.
That's
You just didn't know
hysterical.
you were watching a whale. And you're like, look at the mighty sea beast. And the whales are just doing the helicopter on the surface. No clue that people are watching. They're just like, what are you doing, Chuck? I'm airing it out, Dave. What's up? I'm waiting my turn. You're going to air it out? I'm going to air it out. They're all airing it out. Meanwhile, there's just sailors gripping the wheel being like, we got to get out of here, mateys. There's a kraken. And they're like, well, it's about to get kraken over
It's
here,
about to get
Deborah.
cracking. Yeah, they're not paying attention to those sailors.
That's
They got
hilarious.
probably one female whale under there that is just
About to take all the
fighting for
D,
her
like-
life.
I guess we need to find out if there's ever been a whale trapped in Loch Ness. That would be hilarious if it were determined after all the sea creature sightings that have been reported that people were just spotting promiscuous whales swimming upside down in the sea. Hey, if you're enjoying
Promiscuous whale.
this video and you like this kind of content, I
resist.
post a new one just like it every day, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. It would be awesome if you'd hit that subscribe
Oh
button
my
and come back
God,
tomorrow to
that's too
join me.
much.
Also, we just launched a new podcast. Check out the link in the description.
Study that show that there is no safe level of fluoride in water supply and that it can lower IQ in children and harm pregnant women. The only reason we know about this is thanks to a lawsuit that forced the Biden administration to turn over the documents. But first, just look at the places that do have fluoride in the water. This map is courtesy of the British
Imagine
Fluoridation Society. Fluoride in the water is a funny thing, right? The government says we need it to protect our teeth, and our teeth need protection because the modern diet is so degrading on teeth enamel and full of sugar and processed foods that grind down our teeth. It's a vicious cycle, right? So the government, in response to this, has decided to fix our food chain. Just kidding. They're not. They're not going to do anything.
Like,
of the
instead of all
sort.
the processed food, we'll get rid of that. No, instead, we're going to mask it with chemicals in the water.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's how we roll.
And,
Yeah.
you know, there was never any real research on the effects of this. And now that there is some, the government is trying to hide that research about the possible negative effect of fluoride. A group called the Fluoride Action Network has sued the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA. The EPA is being defended by the Justice Department. So you and your tax dollars are defending this. You're defending their right to maybe hurt you and your kids. That's how it works.
By putting fluoride in the water.
Because we pay our taxes and the Justice Department is taxpayer funded. So we are then all in on protecting the EPA. We have to be. But in this suit, they sought for
Right
the
to your
release of a
congressman.
report called the National Toxicology Program. And here is the report in question. Why do we have it? Because a judge ruled that we should. Here is the email in question where someone is asking, like, hey, we got a heads up from the NIH about this report coming out soon and fluoride and the, effects on IQ. Assume you're aware. Do we need to chat? That is, I think that
So apparently the judges can make decisions for what's best for our health and our children's health nowadays.
masking like, yikes, this is gonna suck. We need to talk about it. To which this person responds, thanks so much. Assistant Health Secretary Levine has put it on hold until further notice. Like, we should be freaking out, but for now, it's been buried.
Kindergarten or first grade, they used to give us in the school, and if anyone remembers this, I was in New Jersey at the time, a little plastic cup every morning, and they put like one little pink fluoride tablet in the cup, and you had to like chew it, and you had to chew it. It was like chalky.
55 different studies, and they sort of did a compendium of them, and they found that here is the results. Let's just read it. In adults, only 2 high-quality cross-sectional studies examining cognitive effects were available. The literature in children was more extensive and was separated into 2 studies assessing IQ and studies assessing other cognitive or neurodevelopmental outcomes. 8 of 9 high-quality studies examining other cognitive or neurodevelopmental outcomes reported association with fluoride exposure. 72 studies assessed the association between fluoride exposure and IQ in children. 19 of those studies were considered to be high quality. Of these, 18 reported an association between higher fluoride exposure and lower IQ in children. The 18 studies, which include 3 prospective cohort studies and 15 cross-sectional studies, were conducted in 5 different countries. 46 of the 53 low-quality studies in children also found evidence of an association between higher fluoride exposure and lower IQ in children.
You know, there's one thing that the government, United States government, is responsible for. That is the protection and security of its people, right? Mm-hmm. And how many times are we seeing evidence that they're doing the exact opposite? The Environmental Protection Agency is supposed to protect us from environmental toxins. They're literally have studies, 46 out of 53 studies that they've now shown that it raises incredible problems for young children and adults.
Higher fluoride.
I don't know about you, but that's why I do my research and I homeschool my children and they get non-fluoride toothpaste.
Maybe now the government will be forced to make a change.
Just because they won't let us sail below the 60th parallel doesn't mean the Earth is flat.
Yeah, what about the accounts from the men who actually did?
What are you talking about?
William Morris, late 1700s, traversed along the Antarctic Circle until he found it.
Found what?
Summer's Gate, every glober's worst nightmare, one of the 3 exits along the ice wall. Said the crew was too scared to go through it, but by the time they tried pulling out, it was already too late. Current yanked them through the opening into the other side, beyond the ice wall.
My God.
Sailed through these unknown waters until
what?
They were approached by a massive red ship, unlike anything they'd ever seen back home, and it started blaring an unbearable horn until they finally realized William and his crew were no harm. They brought them up on board, and the captain of this giant red ship introduced himself to William as the leader of the ancestral lands. Said his name was Tolliver. Yawning, William was in shock at this point, like trying to take in the fact that there was like this whole reality outside of this ice wall barrier. And Tolliver asked him what he was doing in these waters. William kind of apologetically said, like, I'm sorry, we just wanted to explore what was out here. And Tolliver said, like, no, it's fine. It's been so long since we've seen anyone come from the inner ice wall. Tolliver handed William a map and he said, take this. It will lead you to the safe lands. Move swiftly now. William said, the safe lands, like, I'm sorry, is there something dangerous out here? Like, are we in danger? And Tolliver said, oh, my dear boy, things out here on this side are just fine. You see that place you've emerged from, those people in there are what we have to worry about. He said the leaders of the inner ice wall of your Americas are tyrannical oligarchs who will stop at nothing to keep control. And so William went back to his boat and told his crew about everything the captain said. He goes like, look, guys, I don't think we're going to be able to go back home. Like, these people are in some kind of generational standoff with us. Like, we've been lied to about everything. And as he showed them the map he was given, he goes, there's a whole other world out here. And they just looked at this map, which still circulates today, that had shown like literally 178 different worlds under the same biodome. Yeah, all kind of connected by oceans. And so they took the directions to the ancestral lands where things were safe, and they were kindly greeted by a beautiful kind of like utopian city where everything was just kind of a peaceful, gracious, and like abundant plethora of just like life. So William was escorted into a kind of headquarter building where a sergeant said to him, William, we'd be happy to process you as a citizen to the ancestral lands We are aware that you are from the inner ice wall, and we're deeply sorry about the things you've been subjected to. And William just said to him, like, but sir, my family, my people, like, they are all inside of there with no knowledge of these lands beyond. Like, what will be their fate? The sergeant said to him, like, I understand your concerns, sir. I truly do. We've been trying to liberate your realm for centuries, but your leaders are ruthless. He says to William, he goes, listen, if they find out that you've escaped, okay. If they find out you know about these lands, it could trigger another great reset. Okay, they could wipe out your guys' entire realm, leaving only an embryonic group of humans to once again reset your collective consciousness, something they've done before, and believe me, they won't hesitate to do again. And William says to him, he goes, like, great, reset, sir. We what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And the sergeant just says to him, he goes, buddy, let's just say the last time one of you escaped, you weren't wearing powdered wigs. Basically explains to him that our society in the inner ice wall has cycled through dozens of civilizations, all of which have like reached different levels of technology, kind of continually reverting back to primal beginnings every time they reset us. And so William basically agreed with his crew to claim citizenship in the ancestral lands, and they pretty much lived an amazing life for the next 10 years. But William's knowledge drove him crazy. Although he'd met a woman here and gotten married, he couldn't help but want to go back to the inner ice wall. And one day they both went missing. They took a boat back to the ice wall, and he distributed as much of this information into the Americas and European nations as he possibly could. And this is where all the flat Earth speculation has reemerged from.
Okay, so I don't think that proves flat Earth, but it certainly does have its merits in the whole conformity of people and the way they want to control us and keep us dumb, and it would explain mud floods and like a whole host of things. And this puts a whole new flip in perspective on aliens, because they're not truly aliens from another world, but they are like foreigners from another land that we're not aware of. We're not allowed to know about. Now I'm thinking we all need to just rally together and break on free to the other side. Let's go.
I don't know how accurate the telling of that story is, but I looked it up, and there was an expedition by William Morris who claimed to have passed over the ice wall and found a new civilization. What I found most fascinating about this, if the details of the story are true, is that it talks about the Great Reset. They're openly talking about a Great Reset right now.
Yeah,
and he
they are.
made this claim apparently back in the 1870s. We may need to heed his warning. It looks like they're about to try to set us back to the Stone Ages with all these wars and pandemics they got going.
So apparently, one of the reasons why clothing stores always put the men's section at the back is because men tend to shop like hunters while women shop like gatherers. So what does that mean? Well, researchers noticed that men enter these stores knowing exactly what they want to buy, and they'll ignore all the other clothes in the store to hunt for that specific item. But they noticed that even when women know what they want, they still tend to browse and pick up other clothes as well, so putting their section at the front leads to more sales. And men also tend to avoid asking for help or directions, so stores that are popular with men like the Bass Pro Shop or Home Depot will use clear, large signs to help them find what they need quickly. But women are more likely to ask for help, so stores like Glossier or Aritzia will use less detailed signs to encourage women to interact with employees who can then introduce them to other products. Also, shoppers prefer shapes that match their own bodies, and women prefer curves, so these stores will also be designed to have a very curvy and organic look to them. They also found that bright fluorescent lights negatively affects women's moods but positively affects men's moods, so these stores that are catered to women will usually have dimmer, cozier lighting. But what about men? Well, they respond better to the opposite. They prefer straight shapes and sharp, angular store designs that are brightly lit.
Wow. If we could only learn to understand each other as male and female like the shopping network does, I think we would probably all get along a lot better.
I just thought this was interesting. It's funny how these same companies that use male and female psychology to design their store's floor plan will come out and make a public statement in support of women being allowed to fight men in hand-to-hand combat sports because men and women don't have any differences and therefore the sport shouldn't be categorized by sex. We're living in an upside-down clown world.
This is a good one to remember the next day you're in the shop and you're buying fruit. I'm sure you've noticed that a lot of fruit, no matter what it is, apples or bananas, they've got a little small sticker on them. And on the sticker there'll be numbers. If it's a 4-digit number, that means that that fruit has been conventionally grown and more than likely with the use of harsh chemicals like pesticides. If there is a 5-digit number and the first digit is an 8, that means that it is genetically modified and it will also more than likely have been grown with the use of harsh chemicals. If there's a 5-digit number and the first digit's a 9, that means that that fruit has been grown organically and it shouldn't have any of those nasty or harmful chemicals on them.
Oh, well, that's good to know. That was very good
That's just good information to have. I found this image on Google that breaks it down for y'all if you want to just pause the video and grab you a screenshot.
Yep, I got
it. To be financially responsible, this comment was in response to my previous video where I was talking about the next big thing, money dysmorphia. Yes, money dysmorphia impacts millennials and Gen Z.
Oh my God,
what is it?
again.
Well, it's the fact that you keep hearing how tough you have it. You're not actually poor, but you hear how expensive everything is and it makes you think you are. It distracts from the fact that the US economy is actually doing pretty well. What's interesting is around the same time where people are talking about money dysmorphia, guess what's happening? The data used to look like this. This is the average wealth per person when they would hit 30. So for boomers, it was like 140. For Gen X, 120. Millennials, 108. Well, apparently they were reading the data wrong, and actually millennials and Gen Z is always included with these numbers, by the way. Federal Reserve classifies all adults born after 1981 as millennials, so this is Gen Z. But we have $1.25 for every dollar that Gen X has. We have $1.26 for every dollar that boomers had, which also doesn't make sense because boomers were way better off than Gen X. That doesn't stop people from posting this as if it's a thing. There was this one forum and people were freaking out. Boomers were having a heyday. They were talking about how if millennials would spend 1/10 the energy they expend complaining about it and actually working and being productive, they would be worth orders of magnitude more. Now, I want you to ignore this data. This is the productivity of the worker since like the 1950s. You can see we are significantly more productive than we've ever been, and this is how you're compensated for that productivity.
Right.
Now, you could say that we are actually more productive than we've ever been, but we're being paid way less. Or you could just say the reason why everything sucks for the younger generations is because you're lazy. Great work, astute analysis by this anonymous poster. It's always anonymous, by the way. I do want to make one important point really quickly. The way that our political system works is to put blame on every single thing except for you. That way you can keep doing what you're doing. And this is why everything is always focused on who is the source of the problem. It's always the other guys. It's always someone else. Our boomer parents, grandparents grew up with a trusted media source that gave them information, and so they slurped up all that propaganda. They have consistently been told that the issue is millennials and Gen Z, we just don't want to work hard. And so that's what they believe. You cannot blame someone for believing propaganda, especially when they've been conditioned that way their whole life. So if you make this like a generational thing, you're missing the point. The issue is not the generations. The issue is up versus down, money versus no money, the haves versus the have-nots, okay? And there's a major issue that we need to be mindful of. So millennials and Gen Z are becoming the majority of the population. That means we have a lot of power. But if we keep going on cruise control, if you're only focusing on yourself, nothing is going to change. And you can look at life course trajectories and wealth accumulation in the United States and see what the data shows. Does it show that millennials are doing pretty good? Yeah, it does. But it also shows that millennials have the largest wealth gap of any generation. Millennials have the largest. The wealth gap between the rich millennials and the rest is the largest of any generation. So while the top 10% may have 20% more than like boomers did at the same age, everybody else, the average, has way less. Not to mention black families have 23 cents for every dollar a white family has. Hispanic families, 19 cents for every dollar. The top 10% of millennials hold 67% of the wealth, while the bottom 50%, they have 2.5%. Do you know who else has 2.5% of the millennials' wealth? Mark Zuckerberg. So the bottom 50% equals one Mark Zuckerberg. So are things better off? For example, Gen Z, right? They're more likely to go to college, get good jobs. They're making more money than millennials did, but they're also paying 31% more on rent. I don't know. It's crazy. It is so crazy. But if anyone can look at the state of affairs right now and confidently say that they think things are on a great trajectory, pass me whatever they have because I need some of that.
I fell into this trap. I bought the
I agree.
propaganda hook, line, and sinker for a while, and I thought that the younger generations were just lazy. But anytime the media starts sowing division between two groups, whether that's two racial groups, two gender identities, two religions, or two age groups, your alarm bell should be going off. They want you to be mad at someone else so you don't stop and think logically about what the actual root of the problem is. And no matter what the problem is, it's almost always most certainly caused by the federal government, not your neighbor.
See, I totally agree with that. Like 100% agree with that. We need to be making them take accountability.
And the economy is in shambles. That's a fact.
Apparently, aliens come from our ocean and not outer space.
They are not from outer space. They are not from another planet. They are not from another galaxy. They are from here, planet Earth. They have been here for millions of years. They live in the oceans. They have thousands of bases beneath all the seas throughout planet Earth. Their technology is millions of years more advanced than human technology. They are the first intelligent life to live on planet Earth. This is their planet, not our planet. It was never our planet. Many governments in the world know about this and keep it secret from the public. Since the 1930s, the United States military has retrieved multiple extraterrestrial spacecrafts. They would also retrieve biological alien bodies.
Thanks for watching. As always, stay weird.
All right, clearly a lot of that was just somebody's best guess. However, I do think that this makes the most sense out of every theory about the ice wall. If there's an advanced race beyond the ice wall, it would only make sense that they would make underwater capable craft to traverse the planet under the ocean to avoid
That's a good
detection.
point.
They could leave Antarctica and travel anywhere they wanted by sea and never be detected.
I totally get it. You don't want to live in a world that could be that deceptive. You don't
This dude's so high strung, but I really like him.
want to live in a world that lied to you about the very shape of the earth beneath your feet and tricked you and actually fooled you. You don't want to think you're that dupable. Don't be that dupable. Don't be that dupable. You're that dupable. But it's okay. I was that dupable too. And I got over it. I made some peanut butter waffles. I got intellectually honest with myself. Some of you guys will not allow the government lying to you to even be an option in your reality. It's like you can clearly see an astronaut grab another astronaut by his harness wire, and you'll be like, no, he grabbed his pocket. And then you just won't even comment on when the astronaut grabs nothing out of thin air and acts like he sets it down, proving that they're using augmented reality. It's insane. You're dupable. I was too. It's okay.
You're hackable.
Go make yourself some peanut butter
And
waffles,
he just
man.
flung his peanut butter and syrup when he picked up his
Get off
plate.
your high horse.
I have to push back on this one a little bit. I know that the government lies to me. I don't believe that they're being honest about something in regards to the Earth.
Most
simply
things.
because they've lied so much about space travel and given us so many fake images of the planet, none of which have been untouched by NASA Photoshop artists. However,
And they've given us those whole fake videos of the astronauts on board the ISS with the damn wrinkled up curtain in the background that's supposed to be the wall of the damn ISS. I mean, come on. And then he gets hooked upside down on his little wire and he can't get unstuck. And they got to fix him. It's laughable.
On Kanye's use of nitrous oxide gas has been released. Now, these are alleged text messages from Kanye West's ex-chief of staff, Milo. Read through these texts while I explain to you what's going on. So, Milo is a guy who used to work for Kanye, and he's accusing Kanye's dentist for giving him nitrous oxide gas for recreational use. So much that he said Kanye was spending upwards of $50,000 per month for this. Everyone's worried about Kanye's health because if this is true, this is extremely horrible for you. Milo said that Kanye would wear these inhaler masks during his meetings, and the dentist Connolly is saying that all these allegations are false. Next thing you know, Milo posts these screenshots. Now we can't confirm whether it's true or not, but I'll be sure to keep you guys updated the second we learn more.
man, it sounds like we might lose Kanye before long if this is true. That's absolutely horrible to hear. This is new to
I'm so distraught, right?
deep end and started referring to himself as God. Maybe it's the effects of the nitrous.
Rang me up this day and asked me would I come on and talk about moon conspiracies, whether or not they went to the moon. And I said, it's not my space thing, I'm more into UFOs. And they said, oh, that's okay, well, just come on anyway, because we couldn't get the guests that we wanted to get. It's not my speciality subject, so I'm not really going to be able to do a hell of a lot for you. And they said, yeah, no, that'll be fine, just come on. And they said, we want you to read from this script. They handed me a script, and it was like what I was supposed to say during the segment. And I said, well, I don't really believe what you're asking me to say here. This doesn't really sound what I would like to say. And they were like, no, you have to read what's on the script. And I'm like, And they said, if you don't, you won't go on. And I just went, oh, God, I can't believe this. So I said, yeah, whatever, yeah, that's fine. So I went on. And I said what I wanted to say, because I'm not the type of person who's going to be told what to say. My belief is that we did go to the moon. I just think they've doctored the photos. So this is me on the Big Breakfast, and the moon hasn't got any atmosphere, which means...
Okay, which it hasn't.
Yes, so that means the light should come in a bit brighter.
Does it?
It does, yeah. 20% brighter. If you can see stars on Earth, then if you're on the moon, you can definitely see the stars, and they should appear in photographs.
Right.
And they don't appear in the photographs of a lot of NASA.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's not a bad reason. Reason two?
Yeah, astronauts tend to jump about a lot.
Well, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah. And scientists have said that they shouldn't be in the air for that long because the gravity is a lot greater than that long for them to come back down.
According to who?
Scientists. You've got very sharp edges and defined walls where the boot has actually gone into the Earth.
Into the dust.
There's no moisture on the moon, and any dust wouldn't line up like that. That's the type of thing you get with mud and earth. You don't get that on the moon.
How do you know you haven't been there, Matthew?
Well, no.
That's your side of the story. We actually have someone in the building who has, I think, a different opinion to you, Matthew. Second man on the moon, Buzz Aldrin. Yeah! Buzz, so fantastic to meet you.
How are you?
I'm very well indeed.
Nice to meet you.
How are you doing? Matthew, look at Buzz Aldrin. Could you just say that again to Matthew? He's from this magazine called
Yes, I know.
Truth Seekers. And I think he needs to have a chat to you.
Yeah. There.
Oh, yes.
We really were there.
Okay, right. Is that it?
Okay, come on. Let's go through this scientifically, Buzz. Let's go through this scientifically.
We went up there and we said you can't see stars during the daytime because the light is so bright that it causes the pupils of your eyes to shut down. Light that hits the surface is so bright that, again, it closes it down. Now, if the sun was being eclipsed or if it was nighttime on the moon, you'd see wonderful lots and lots of stars, just like you see. If you dig a deep hole, I'm told, and you get down at the bottom of a well and you look up, even during the daytime, you can see stars because of your eyes, even though the light lights up the atmosphere. That's why we can't see stars.
Camera, do you think the camera would react the same way?
Of course.
Because we're talking 1969 technology, aren't we? And television cameras as well, and stuff like that. I mean,
you would have to have a camera that would keep out all the rest of the light, and then it would look up and it would be able to see.
Airbrush out some of the photos then, because there's definite evidence.
Nobody airbrushed out anything.
There's definite evidence of taken out.
I think you airbrushed it, or someone else did.
No.
Gravity on the moon, you should have been in the air longer. What's this all about?
Well, very close. And it was very easy to move around, and it was like slow motion.
So is that the same situation with the footprints, and why the dust would not fall in, or
well, the dust really, it depends on the consistency of the material there. And we had no idea what that was like until we brought back some pieces of the moon and found that it was very much like talcum powder.
Stick a bit of moon dust in your pocket?
No. Remember, we were in quarantine when we came
That's
back.
right. There's Matthew Skeptic. What do you think?
He's never.
He's never going to believe.
And I can say all I want.
I believe you. We know he was there. We saw him.
Unfortunately, you can't solve it by taking a boat on it either.
No, exactly.
That doesn't change the truth.
What is your opinion on Gordon Cooper coming forward and saying he's seen UFOs when he was up there?
Gordon Cooper may have seen a lot of things, but I can't vouch one way or another for what he's seen and when he's seen it.
Did you see any?
No.
Wow. And you'd tell us, wouldn't you, Buzz?
Of course I would.
Well, we saw a couple, he'd say, but no, he didn't. Buzz, thanks very much.
I will say this. Buzz Aldrin's explanation of why he couldn't see the stars makes...
Yeah, it makes sense to me, what he said there. But I will tell you that my grandpa Money never believed that we went to the moon at all. He was mad about it. He thought the whole thing was faked.
That man has just been so inconsistent with his story over the years. I just can't believe anything he says.
If you thought the Olympics sucked, I've got some good news for you. I still can't believe this, but in 2025, there's going to be a new Olympics where the athletes are required to take performance-enhancing drugs to enter. It's called the Enhanced Games and has nothing to do with the official Olympics, as the competitors are going to be fully juiced up on everything imaginable with the goal of breaking every world record there is. They're going to have many of the sports from the games we're used to, including track and field, swimming, weightlifting, gymnastics, and combat sports.
Well, that'll be
That's
good.
MMA and boxing. And understandably, not everyone's on board with this idea, with the US Anti-Doping Agency and past Olympians publicly denouncing the planned event for obvious safety reasons, claiming it to be dangerous, criminal, and that people will die if it goes through. To which the founders responded that it should actually be safer than regular sports, as the athletes will have access to clean drugs as well as heavy monitoring available on.
I mean, the first thing coming to my mind is like the Roman gladiators and how it was like a blood sport, you know?
Hand, prepared to diagnose and treat them with these substances in their systems, unlike the real Olympics, which prohibits them. Everyone seems to have their own opinion on this, ranging from worrying about the athlete's health to looking forward to watching the peak human condition shatter every world record, even if it is non-natural. It'll sort of split all world records into two categories, natural and enhanced. Enhanced being the greater of the two records, which is gonna cause some disruptions in the sporting industry. These games actually did have an interesting point though, saying that apart from the rare worldwide superstar, most Olympians actually live in poverty, mentioning that tennis players who lose the first round in Wimbledon take home double the amount of the average gold medalist in the Olympics, with the vast majority of the billions of dollars the Olympics do make going into building the stadiums and of course paying the officials and executives. Not only will the base salary be higher in the enhanced games, expecting around 6 figures for top tier athletes, but there will also be $1 million prizes for the first people to break world records. Would you watch the Trent Olympics with juice heads going head to head in boxing matches, or is it just dangerous and stupid?
That's awesome that they're going to be paying out more for their athletes than they do in the Olympics. I want to make a prediction here, and I'm kind of half serious, but I think
Yeah, I think it's a shame that our American Olympic people don't get paid the kind of money that the other countries pay their people for winning the different medals.
regular athletes are likely so juiced already that when they start breaking records at the Juiced Olympics, it's going to be incremental record breaking at best. They all use performance enhancers. They just hide it. There's been like 10 documentaries on it at this point.
The ice cap of Antarctica is roughly 500,000 years old. So it is ancient place. Why are there so many governments around the world down there studying? Why are there's so many scientific organizations down there, and like secretaries of state visiting and people? If I was going to throw a theory out there, I believe they're playing with the magnetosphere of the planet in a way where I think they're trying to quietly prevent those events that have happened in our past. Our planet is based on an energy system called the toroidal field of energy. Go look up the toroidal field of energy for the Earth. Now, if that's the case, and we look at lost civilizations and how the wobbling of the poles and shifting of the poles may have led to massive tectonic shifts and tsunamis and volcanoes, and I actually believe that that was caused by a coronal mass ejection, which then shifted all the poles and then created chaos around the planet. How much have you seen the news about the sun going through changes? All these mystery things are going on in Antarctica, and our poles are shifting right now. They're flying up to do reintegration for satellites and GPS. Is that the idea, is that they're preventing it from moving too far? Because that's the idea, is you have a spinning disc, right?
Yeah.
If you cause it to wobble too much, it's going to be like chaos. It has to be in a steady way. The spinning disc can still wobble slightly and maintain its equilibrium. We're exactly 13,000 years from the last one. Randall Carlson, great expert in his field, believes that 13,000 years may be a defined cycle of coronal mass ejections.
If that's what they're doing up there, then good.
See, and that's totally plausible to me. Maybe that is what they're doing. I don't know for sure, but I do feel like we're in this binary star system where we're getting ready to see a big pole shift and a total micronova change on our sun.
They won't just come right out and tell us what they're studying up there. But that's all just an idea. So don't panic and assume that the world is about to explode. I'm just thinking out loud. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah, totally give Barry Step a big O like and subscribe. He is awesome. And until next time, take care.